It seems I'm still feeling the effects of the Pokemon drama to this day.
But I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the poll.
So for those of you who don't know, I did a video on top 11 Pokemon that could destroy the world. Doodletones did a commentary on my video. She mistranslated what I said. I said these Pokemon couldn't destroy the world, but she thought I was saying these Pokemon couldn't do any damage whatsoever. After I made my response to Doodle, the commentary community she was a part of started gaining up on me. Me and a few other people who were fed up with the way Doodletone's commentary community was acting decided to form our own commentary community called the Alt-CC, a name which I came up with, by the way.
Last time on Dragon Ball GT, someone made a video about me I didn't like, so I made a commentary community and someone left, and I had to do all the dishes.
You'll get that joke later.
And we decided to call Doodle's community the Neo-CC, a name I did not come up with. Eventually I did leave the Alt-CC over a year ago, and I thought I would never hear from them again, until DarkScythe did this video on me. Now I have enjoyed the guy's content before. Other than me, I think he did the most work in the Alt-CC.
How exactly did you do more work than me? I came up with the idea with the help of Mr. Inferno and Immature God, who you refer to as a Skype name Abortion in this video. I made an entire 2-part documentary about the Neo-CC. I made the Commentary Chronicles series, hosted the Alt-CC cast. How was that exactly less work than your 3 videos on the Neo-CC again? Oh right, it's fucking not.
And when I saw he did a video on me, I was kind of excited. But then I actually watched the video and... oh dear God.
Yeah, I can relate. Just a robot. Quite possibly one of the worst YouTubers I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, I get it. Instead of calling me a YouTuber, you call me a Jewtuber. Clever. Except for you need to explain how I'm a Jewtuber.
No, you don't. The joke clearly just whooshed over your tiny little nubless robot wee-wee. The main reason got called a YouTube goy is because you pick basic run-of-the-mill topic and give the opinion that'll appeal to the lowest common denominator. This can be applied to both your political and non-political videos, you beast.
That insult is usually reserved for people like the Fine Bros when they try to trademark the word react, or other YouTubers who try to scam people. I'm sure DarkScythe's argument is going to be, it's just a joke, you're taking it too seriously. Well, the joke doesn't make any sense and it's not funny, so it fails either way.
I like how you dedicated a whole 40 seconds to one single word I used, then claim I don't give a reason as to why I called you that, but yet the entire video is explaining why I called you that? The fact that he constantly talks about dead topics that nobody gives a shit about, like the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base.
Well, I talked about the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base one time, and that's it.
Please keep this point in mind, because it's going to be very useful later on.
I wanted to talk about the fanbase for a long time, but I thought it was my last chance because MatPat was doing his last video on the topic. Unless, of course, Scott releases a new one.
This is basically YouTube confirmation at its finest. Yet he acts like what DarkScythe said was pointless. When you have to admit there was a time limit for such a prolific topic as Five Nights at Freddy's, then we all know it's just for the quick shekel.
Ooh, I gotta make my Five Nights at Freddy's video before MatPat does, so I can profit? What the fuck does MatPat have to do with it anyway, dude? That's just a stupid fucking reason. Like, wow, you don't like the Five Nights at Freddy's fanbase? Why don't you make a video about the ICP fanbase while you're at it?
Well, I care more about FNAF than those guys. And this is something DarkScythe is going to do throughout the video. He's going to constantly say, oh my god, you don't like this thing that other people don't like? Wow, so original. But the thing is, you can do that with pretty much any channel. I can even do that with yours, DarkScythe. Wow, you don't like incels? So original! You are the first one to ever cover incels on YouTube. Congratulations!
This is where context is key. Besides you actually admitting to liking this series, or at the very least one of the videos in the series, it's not a generalization of incels. Think of it as an index of incels per video. Your videos are the complete opposite of this, so no, we can't compare them in that case.
To further elaborate, the series isn't meant to say, wow, I don't like incels. It's to document what incels do that people might not have seen, such as the r/incels Reddit that was shut down and was no longer available, but I still had screenshots available to me of that subreddit. And also in the second part, it wasn't really even about incels as a whole, it was about one particular case, Alec Manassian, and that was because a lot of fans wanted me to talk about it after seeing my first video.
Also, DarkScythe, if I'm so unoriginal, then what does that say about you and your little alt-CC? I was the one who came up with the name, not you guys.
You might have come up with the name, but that's all you did. I came up with the idea for the community with the help of Mr. Inferno and Immature God, as I previously stated. We were originally called Death, then you came up with the name and we thought it was more catchy, so we went with that. Stop making it sound like the whole thing was your idea, because it wasn't. You found out what we were doing after my Commentary Chronicles video, Dylan Thomas invited you, and you joined. And if you've noticed, there's a gap between my first Commentary Chronicles video and then the first Alt-CC cast. During that gap, I was taking a break from YouTube to focus on real-life shit. When I came back, that's when the name was changed to the Alt-CC. I didn't even agree to it, but I went along with it because it was my idea and I still wanted to follow through with it. Stop trying to Mark Zuckerberg me, J.A.R. It's not working. Of course, as everyone knows, J.A.R was a member of a community called the Alt-CC, which I helped found. Our mission was to destroy what we called the Neo-CC, a new age of commentators that can't take a fucking joke and spurg out over the smallest things. I could talk about how we wanted all of the edgelords out of the Alt-CC.
Well, you could do that. You would be a liar if you did that, because I did not want all the edgelords out of the Alt-CC. I didn't want anyone to be kicked out. Except for maybe Chambers of my heart, and that's about it, but she's really not an edgelord in any way whatsoever. This is another thing DarkScythe is going to be doing throughout this video. He lies about me a lot. He doesn't have any evidence for these claims, but I also don't have evidence because I don't use Skype anymore. But me saying let's get rid of all the edgelords doesn't sound like something I would do.
This is something J.A.R repeats in his video. He asks his feeble-minded audience, why will me do something like that? Gee whiz, Billy, I don't know. 2 years passed between the formation of the Alt-CC and this video. And 2 years can change a person. Who knows what was going through your fucking Chrome down? This is honestly like when Fred Durst would yell, I don't give a fuck, 20 times. When you say something the first time, okay, I might believe you. Second time, you're kind of pushing it. And anything else after that is just starting to be a little suspicious.
And the reason I mentioned it was because I saw the message in the group chat where you said something to that effect, and everyone in the alt was telling me that's what you were saying as well. That's why I just said it in passing. Unfortunately, you're not the only one that doesn't use Skype anymore because it's shit, so I understand that. I tried to find it, but unfortunately, I could not. So in the words of Fred Durst, and that he wanted to make peace with the Neo-CC.
Again, another lie. This was happening when I made my Icy Hazard video. I said let's have a temporary truce with the Neo-CC. We should do a video on Icy Hazard to show that we stand by our principles no matter what. Whether it's someone from Doodletones group or someone doing a video on Doodletones, we're still going to stand by our principles no matter what. Other than me, no one else in the Alt-CC talked about Icy Hazard, except I think maybe Jorm, but I can't remember if he was a part of the group or not. And then when you came back to the community, Abortion said I wanted to make peace with the Neo-CC, a bold-faced lie, you believed him, no questions asked, and then I left the group.
It wasn't just Immature God, aka Abortion, that told me that. It was Jesus with the bazookas, Con Man, and even Dylan Thomas told me all this shit.
See, I don't remember you ever bringing up that video with anybody in the alt. You just said you were bored after seeing a member leave and left of your own accord.
Abortion was also talking about how my plan failed. You guys even go through with my plan.
We left the alt because Dylan Thomas was fucking it all up, not to go through with your master plan, completely defeating the purpose of the Alt-CC in the first place. But of course, he just wanted to cater to his audience and not use too many mean and evil ad hominems.
Again, no. You guys kept on saying, doodle diapers, doodle diapers, Doodle diapers. And I was telling you guys to come up with something new. Don't turn this around on me and say, oh, J.A.R doesn't like it when people insult other people. No, I don't like it when people use the same boring insult over and over and over again. Of course, DarkScythe doesn't have proof for this, but I also don't have proof for this either. But does this really sound like something I would do?
'Cause it pissed him off, loser. Do you honestly think that a name that we would have come up with would have had as much as an impact as an already established trigger phrase for the boyum? No. And one more thing, that little shit-eating grin you got there, I think personally that would go great with like a evil mustache, a fucking top hat, and like a monocle or something. You could be like one of those villains in a railroad movie. You'd go, it's me, I'm J.A.R.
That was what made the doodle diapers thing so funny. It was overused, and we knew it was overused, but it still pissed him off anyway. That was the point.
Also, DarkScythe, you left the group at one point too. And when you left, I was doing all the work. Everybody else was being lazy, and Exam couldn't help because he was having issues with his computer.
How is that even a point? Oh, you left the house and I had to do all the dishes. Boo-hoo, cry me a fucking river. How is it my fault that everyone stopped caring after I left? It was no longer my problem. How can I be held responsible for the actions of others? So he tucked his tail between his legs and bitched out because that's all he thinks he can do to get more viewers.
That doesn't even make any sense! You bitched out because it was the only way you thought you could get views and attention. Because everybody knows being a coward makes you rich and famous.
My point was that you wanted to cozy up to the NeoCC to get more viewers from that community. I thought that was pretty obvious, but I guess it flew over your head.
I feel like I'm back in middle school with a bunch of edgelords who make insults that don't even make any sense.
Oh yes, let's beat that edge drum because it's not like 20,000 other people haven't called me that already. I find it funny how you criticize me for, wow, doodle diapers is the only thing you could come up with for doodle tones, yet edgelord's the only thing you can come up for me. That goes for you and your fans. The issue is, no matter how much J.A.R wants to make videos about the NeoCC, he's one of them.
Yeah, guys, I really badly want to talk about the NeoCC. That's why I haven't talked about them in over a year.
My point was that even though you joined my crusade against the NeoCC, and even though you've made videos about the NeoCC, you had become one of them. But I'll admit I probably should have elaborated on that a little bit better. He makes terrible opening skits that seem like freshmen in high school drama class with dementia.
Hey guys, I'm just a robot. And as you can clearly tell, I am a robot.
And I'm Junkie. I'm not a robot. I'm an animal. And J.A.R here thought it'd be an interesting idea to do a video on robot animals.
Junkie, you're not supposed to introduce yourself like that.
Of course.
No, you can't be serious, DarkScythe. Oh my god. This is actually a joke about long skits. Let's keep playing and see what I say after he cuts me off. Junkie, you're not supposed to introduce yourself like that. You're supposed to do an unfunny skit about you breaking into my house, and then through a series of very awkward dialogue, we agreed to do a video on something together.
Or we can not do something that makes your average, low-budget middle school play look like a Broadway production of Hamlet.
Whoa, that's a fascinating concept. Let's do that instead.
Even though you're making fun of dumb skits, the skit itself was boring, and you could have done a much better job at taking the piss out of them. I didn't mean to take it out of context or cut you off before the punchline of the joke happened. I was just using that as an example as to why your skits, well, are very unfunny. Self-awareness doesn't make them any funnier. At least in my opinion.
Now I want to make this clear, I have done unfunny skits with Manga Common, and what's really funny, if DarkScythe just waited one more week, he could have used the clip I did with Manga Common instead.
And how the fuck was I supposed to know that, J.A.R? Do you expect me to foresee the fucking future? But at least you're admitting you do unfunny skits. Maybe you should, I don't know, stop doing them?
But he took a joke I made about long skits, took it out of context and said, you see, J.A.R supports unfunny skits. I don't know if DarkScythe is an idiot or a liar or both. This is like the easiest thing to counter ever.
Neither. The skit still wasn't funny, you did a poor job at satirizing it, and you just came off as a tryhard. Of course, his god-awful, monotone voice doesn't help.
But DarkScythe, you don't understand. He has a monotone voice to be like a robot because he wants to be quirky and relatable to his anthro audience.
No, actually, he talks like this in voice calls too. It's really fucking annoying to the point where I want to staple my fucking ears shut.
I love how he's trying to compare me to the Neo-CC, but he made the exact same point Doodle made about me.
Okay, this is going to seriously bother me if I don't bring this up here. I get it, you're trying to be a robot, that's your character, but the way you speak is grating. It's as if you're a child trying to sound incredibly cool, but you wind up sounding more edgy than anything. It makes me want to play dodgeball in traffic.
Also, Doodle Tones, I mean DarkScythe. Sorry, I got you two mixed up for a second. I have used my real voice on my channel before. In fact, very recently. I have used my real voice in other videos, but I've never done it for such a long time on my main channel. And for those of you who don't know, yeah, this is how I really sound.
If you have to resort to comparing Edgy Man to Doodle Diapers because they both insulted the way you sound, then you must be very self-conscious about the way you sound.
And, let's not forget, you literally just proved my point. I said your voice is just as boring and annoying without the distortion. Then you show exactly that. Thanks, Obama. But of course, he wants to appeal to his autistic audience, like making videos about Christian, like, whoa, such an innovative idea that's never been done before.
Christian Weston Chandler, also known as the CWC. I wanted to do a video about him for a very long time, but what can I say that hasn't already been said? Well, the answer is absolutely nothing. I love how he says, "Whoa, you did a video on Christian, so original." And then he plays a clip of me saying that doing videos on Christian is not original. Pretty much everything about him has already been said.
Yeah, that was my point. You admitted it wasn't original at all, but decided to do it anyway. Then why make a video? What's the point?
So instead of talking about Christian Weston Chandler, I'm going to talk about Christina Weston Chandler.
But that makes no difference.
Oh no, DarkScythe, please no. Please don't say what I think you're going to say.
They're still the same person. That's like saying, I'm not going to talk about Clark Kent this time, I'm talking about Superman. Like, fuck off, dude.
Oh my god. This is one thing I really hate about making videos. I never know what people are going to take away from what I say. The point I was making is that I'm not going to go into too much detail about what Christian Weston Chandler did when he was going by the name Christian Weston Chandler. I just talked about him briefly for the people who don't know about him. I'm not talking about his history. I'm talking about what's going on right now. I was talking about new shit. Did you even watch my video?
Yeah, and plenty of people have already covered the new shit with Christina Weston Chandler, and quite frankly did a better job and was more informative about it, to be honest. My point was that just because you're covering something somewhat recent he did doesn't make it original. Just like if you make a new FNAF video, if Scott Cawthon released another game, that wouldn't make that original either. You're still beating a dead horse, man. And I did watch your video. It was pretty boring, to be quite frank. But what? Christian is bad? He's stupid? He's done stupid things. Oh, please do tell Just a Robot.
Oh wow, you're making the same point you already made, which I already debunked. Because guess what? I wasn't saying I was the first person to ever talk about him, but somehow you got that message.
Well, I mean, I did play a clip of you saying plenty of other people already covered him in my video, so clearly I didn't get the impression that you thought you were the first to do it. I like how you have this narrative that all I'm doing in this video is lying about you, yet you lied about me just here. Wow, Steve Shives and social justice warriors are bad?
Yeah, and it's not like you ever said the same thing. Oh wait, you did.
Yeah, one time.
Well, I talked about the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base one time, and that's it.
Oops. Guess if I make a point about a subject you covered one time as an example, it's invalid. But you can totally do it, because double standards isn't in JAR's vocabulary.
But unlike you, DarkScythe, I actually covered a Steve Shives video that no one else talked about before me, at least as far as I know. I didn't see any other responses to the one I talked about, but I know I've seen other people respond to the video you covered.
Yeah, and that was nearly 3 years ago, when I first started commentaries and thought that would be good material for one. The fact that you had to pull a video from 3 years ago, back when I was new to doing commentaries, to make a point? It's kinda pathetic, J.A.R. It's kinda fucking pathetic.
Attention, free speech warriors. Hear my cry. These dyed-haired, smelly college kids with hairy armpits are the biggest threat to our freedom of speech.
I wouldn't say they're the biggest threat, but they're a decent-sized threat.
How so, J.A.R? Name one thing an SJW has done this year that has severely impacted the foundations of our society in any way. Censorship is a big issue to me, but it's not a partisan one. Both people on the left and the right are doing it. Our own president, who you supported, last I checked.
I'm voting for the Trumpster.
Maybe you've changed your mind on that. Support censorship. He sued Bill Maher over a joke. Well, attempted to anyway. He tried suing The Onion over a satire article, and he wants to change the libel laws so we can crack down on the media more. J.A.R, you supported someone who supports censorship. I don't want to hear jack fucking shit about SJWs coming out of your fucking mouth.
Wow, that's really cool. Want to talk about the genocide in Yemen? Or, issues that actually affect us?
Are you gonna talk about it?
Yes, I was planning on one, but my fans said they were getting sick of all the political videos and wanted more classic-style videos, so I adopted to resurrect an old project, Fanatic Infection, instead. However, I'm going to be making more videos about political topics such as this in the future regardless. Of course, there's no way you could know about that, so I can see why you would ask that question.
Also, how does something that happened in a country on the other side of the planet affect us? And by us, I mean Americans.
I like how you fancy yourself a political commentator, yet you have no clue what the fuck you're talking about. The genocide in Yemen by the Saudis is being supported by America. But how does it affect me personally? Maybe because my tax dollars are going towards weapons that are being given to the Saudis to slaughter women and children? I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, J.A.R, how do you think wars are funded? With magical fucking fairy dust from Cosmo and Wanda? Hey, Cosmo, I wish we could have another war in Iraq. No, out of your taxes. That's part of the reason we're $21 trillion in debt.
I think what really butters my biscuits about Jackoff a Retard is, how he jacks off retards.
Oh, do tell.
He makes a video about the most mundane of topics and managed to actually maintain a following. He brings absolutely no new points to the table about anything he talks about. It's just the same shit you've been hearing from Sargon of Akkad or Wrecked Feminist videos.
Yeah, guys, remember when Sargon of Akkad and Wrecked Feminist videos talked about Kalu and Rick and Morty fans?
I was referring strictly to your political videos in that point. I later state that it's the same with your Dragon Ball videos or any other genre of videos that you do that pertain to whatever topic you're talking about. But of course you cut me off right there to make me sound like an idiot, which, you just got done bitching about me apparently doing with your shitty skit.
DarkScythe, I don't even talk about feminism and SJWs anymore. You can say that I used to, but, so did you.
Oh, and when was the last time you made something SJW or feminist related? Uh-oh. 2 weeks ago sounds pretty recent to me. Now you can argue that it's just a compilation of old responses, but you added 3 new responses to it, so you're still talking about them to this day. Me, on the other hand, realized almost 3 years ago that SJWs aren't actually as big of a problem as a lot of people on the internet would have you believe.
Also, it's pretty funny how you accuse DarkScythe of lying, but you then lie to your audience about not making any SJW videos. It's very cute.
Whether it's his shitty political videos or his shitty Dragon Ball Z videos, there's already 1,000 other channels that said pretty much the same shit he said about the topic.
Well, I'm still working on all versions of Superman versus all versions of Goku. That hasn't been done yet. Granted, it's not out, but it's just an example.
Again, how the fuck was I supposed to know that, J.A.R? Do you take me as a fucking psychic or some shit?
I also talked about anime artifacts that could be Infinity Stones. I exposed stories for not being 8 years old, which I was surprised that no one did before me, and much more. I will admit I have covered things that other people have covered before I covered them, and didn't add much of anything to the conversation, but you can pretty much say that about any YouTuber. But I do somewhat agree with DarkScythe here, and I'll try to make my content at least a little bit more original.
I'm glad to hear that, J.A.R. I look forward to see where you take your content after taking this criticism into consideration.
But DarkScythe. Holy shit, that's actually a really good impression of me.
Oh, you made a friend, buddy. That's cute. See, now he wants to fuck you, just like Machine Gun Kelly wanted to fuck Eminem.
I have a following, and you just don't understand, and you're just jealous. Ah, yes, the jealous argument, which I have never used in any of my videos, and don't plan on ever using.
Then you better tell your girlfriend to stop using that argument then. And that was more of a reference to how you came off as a complete pretentious jackass when you were talking about the Wall 200's small channel.
I'm over 100 times bigger than this guy, so I'm not going to link his video down below. And if you do come across his video, please don't attack him. In fact, upvote his video and tell him something nice.
But honestly, I'm just gonna let you and the Wall sort that one out. Trust me, I never want the retards you attract anywhere near my fan base. A bunch of fucking mouth-breathing, sock-chewing, shit-eating fans that will watch anything that's on their fucking screen because, ooh, pretty lights on the screen.
Yeah, guys, remember when my fans said pretty lights on the screen? My fans are dumb because DarkScythe says they're dumb. DarkScythe, let's talk about one of your biggest fans, Abortion. A guy who was so bad at arguing he lost to an Antifa member.
Oh, and you're going to give some hard evidence that this happened, right? Because that's the standard you and your fans hold me to. I have to give evidence for everything, so you're gonna give evidence for that claim, right?
Wrong.
Well, if he won't even bother to show what he's talking about, I guess I'll have to do it for him.
See, old buddy, old pal of mine, take a good hard look at that and tell me if you see anything odd. An alt-writer that also alleged to being a white supremacist. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I'm not white, and I'm certainly not alt-right. Tell me, why would a good, wholesome brown boy be masquerading as a white supremacist? I don't know, unless it was fake. Now that's quite a shocker, but hear me out. When you see, let's say, a John Cena diddling a young, strapping muscle boy in the middle of that squared circle, you know that they're both playing characters, and sorry to rain on your parade there, friendo, but we were too. My friend wasn't actually an Antifa, we were simply having a mock debate to introduce his character and hype up his real debate with Borg.
The fact that you actually fell for something that was so obviously staged and fake is honestly pretty embarrassing. I mean, just listen to this shit.
Like, you guys are just a bunch of fucking racists, okay?
And to further prove my point that it was staged, let's take a look at the guy, the quote-unquote Antifa, on the first Alt-CC cast. Is annoying, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be right back, guys. I need to make another pot of coffee. Got work in the morning, so.
MS Paint.
Very clearly the same person, very clearly a friend of ours, so it was very clearly fucking staged. Jesus Christ, you can't be this retarded. Whoa, the picture is moving. J.A.R's mouth moves just like a cartoon.
Okay, that's actually pretty good. Except for I've already made fun of my fans for that.
So you make fun of your own fans, yet they still defend you till their last dying breath. Like going back to an abusive husband, I suppose. Sometimes I wish J.A.R's mouth would move around my pee-pee.
I'm gonna put that at the beginning.
Let's also not forget, he completely ripped off my Dragon Ball Z vs. Sonic The Similarities video. Literally brings up the exact same points I do and calls it a day.
DarkScythe, while we do share some of the same points, I do add some new stuff. For example, I talked about the similarities between the plot of GT and the plot of Sonic X. Also, plenty of people have covered the similarities long before either of us did. Stop acting like you're original. Even when I look up your exact title, 2 videos show up before yours. What makes you think I even knew about your video?
Honestly, I never really searched for similar videos on YouTube. It's just something I noticed myself and decided to talk about. The point is, your video wasn't original either way. You could say mine isn't either, but that was a video from 4 years ago, and yours was a video from just a few months ago. But I will admit I should have done more research on the topic either way. In conclusion, J.A.R is an idiot.
I have made mistakes in my video, but you don't talk about the idiotic mistakes I have made. Instead, you say I'm unoriginal, and you lie about me being a coward. I think you forgot to go over something there, buddy.
Well, J.A.R, I was going to elaborate further on that in the full video, The Commentary Community and Undymed Shapeshifter Part 3, which you refused to mention in this video. You just cut me off right there and pretend that never happened. And you even read a comment that I made later in the video talking about it, and you claim that you don't know what I'm talking about.
He'll just make a response saying you're just a small channel and bitch out and not link your video in there. You're not wrong. In the full video I mention your feud with him because it kinda goes to show how pretentious and stuck up he is. I don't know, throughout this entire video, DarkScythe, you seem pretty fucking pretentious, like holy shit man, calm that hate boner.
DarkScythe, what are you talking about? You didn't mention his feud with me at all in this video. These comments don't make any sense, they're so weird.
Right over there, buddy. Do you know how to read? And as for me not explaining why J.A.R was an idiot, like one of the reasons I mentioned earlier, I think you're an idiot for saying you support free speech, but yet you support Donald Trump, who does not support free speech. That's a pretty idiotic thing to me, J.A.R. Now, of course, his butt buddy gives a great explanation as to why he picked Trump.
What's even funnier about this is that J.A.R is a Trump supporter. Anyone who's a Trump supporter and a free speech warrior is already a fucking moron, considering Trump does not support free speech and has made claims against free speech. You do know that even if J.A.R was supporting or voted for Trump, we honestly had a lose-lose situation for us. It was either pick the loony Oompa Loompa or crazy email-deleting psychopath.
See, he just pushes it to the side like, well, J.A.R had to vote for the lesser of two evils. But yet, J.A.R in his video about the election said he liked Trump. It wasn't like, oh, I don't like Trump, but, you know, Hillary, man. No, he liked Trump. I don't know if he still does, but he did back then at least.
You're probably wondering which of the third-party candidates I am voting for. Well, the thing is, I don't need to vote for any of them, because I like one of the main party candidates.
That makes god-awful content that appeals to the lowest common denominator. Like a certain other someone.
Oh my god, you're still talking about doodle tones? You say I talk about dead topics and now you're doing a video on doodle tones? Are you serious?
No, I'm not doing a video on doodle tones. I'm mentioning how his channel doesn't get nearly as many views now and talking about the events that took place surrounding his channel after I left the Alt-CC in the upcoming project that this was a clip from. Which again, you fail to mention anywhere in the video and pretend it doesn't exist. I'm not saying you can't criticize it because it's a clip. I'm saying you should criticize it as a clip and not a standalone video because that's not what it was intended to be.
You know how sometimes people say something and there's a meaning beyond the literal interpretation of their words? Like if there's context or history or tone or something else behind their words.
You know how some people twist what other people say so they can have a point?
Like if I come up to you and say, that's a nice shirt, you can probably detect that I didn't actually mean that that's a nice shirt.
Or you know what they actually fucking mean.
Or maybe you and I are on a mission where we have given someone the codename of Hawk. When I say, the hawk is in the nest, you probably know I'm not talking about a literal hawk. I'm saying that the person has arrived. When we use language, we very often mean stuff beyond the literal interpretation of our words. When I say it's raining cats and dogs, I don't actually mean that pets are falling from the sky.
Yeah, that's true, but your example has pretty much nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Actually, her examples have pretty much everything to do with what she's talking about. She's talking about how language isn't only interpreted literally or at face value, and how certain words and terms can have a hidden meaning based on the context of how it is used, prefacing the discussion at hand, dog whistle politics. I'm not sure if this obvious fact just flew over your head, or you're just arguing in bad faith to make a point. Either way, you're wrong.
So, with all of that in mind, it's important to know that the phrase, "it's okay to be white," is racist as shit.
Yeah, and apparently everything else is. Even saying the term marijuana is racist.
Well, the origin of mainstream usage of the term marijuana is actually quite racist. Back in the 1930s, the then director of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, Harry Anslinger, popularized the term in his propaganda films, including the infamous Reefer Madness. In one documented incident, Anslinger testified before Congress explaining, "Marijuana is the most violence-causing drug in the history of mankind. Most marijuana smokers are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage." In another statement, Anslinger articulated, "Reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men. The primary reason to outlaw marijuana is its effect on the degenerate races." The term marijuana, which is Spanish for cannabis, was used instead of the English word to make it sound scary to the overtly racist masses. After all, this was the 1930s, in order to gain support to make it illegal. Aside from that, hardly anyone that actually smokes weed calls it marijuana. The term is mainly used by politicians who seek to keep it illegal at the federal level, such as Jeff Sessions.
Stop saying marijuana. Why? Because it's racist as
Okay, understood. The term marijuana is, quote, racist as fuck. Good to know, because I actually didn't know that, and I'm willing to bet the majority of humanity probably didn't know that either. So assuming you are correct and marijuana was a racist term, it has since lost its power to hurt people and has instead, declined into a state of docile harmlessness. Good thing you're here to give it all the power it apparently lost, you sad child.
Well, this exact argument can also be used for the N-word, an argument I myself actually used to agree with, sadly, but the problem is that this word is still used by racists constantly to degrade black people. Therefore, its power is not given by those who are offended by it, but by those who harbor hatred for black people for no reason. Same thing can be said about the term marijuana. It's still used to this day by politicians who seek to keep it illegal, and not really used by its actual users. Most popular terms that the cool kids use are like weed, herb, smoke, flower, etc. Even in the realm of science, it's typically referred to as cannabis, not marijuana.
I know it may sound innocent to some of you, but it's a dog whistle. It's a phrase that would fly under most people's radar, but would signal to a certain group of people, in this case, white supremacists, that the person saying this phrase is one of them.
I always thought the term dog whistling was stupid. It basically means don't use this term because a bunch of bigoted people with magical ears like it.
Well, J.A.R, just because you personally think it's stupid doesn't mean it's not a well-recorded phenomenon that has been occurring for decades, going all the way back to post-Jim Crow in America. In an interview in 1981, former Republican strategist Lee Atwater gave an interview on Nixon's Southern strategy, saying this: "You start out in 1954 by saying N-word, N-word, N-word. By 1968, you can't say N-word. That hurts you. Backfires. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. You're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes. All these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and a byproduct of them is that blacks get hurt worse than whites, and subconsciously, maybe that is a part of it. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we are doing away with the racial problem one way or another. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around and saying we want to cut this is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than N-word, N-word. This phenomenon can still be seen today, on the internet, as well as being used by politicians. Let's take the totally not a racist Donald Trump, for example.
I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. That's true. I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
In the good old days, they'd rip him out of that seat so fast. But today, everybody's politically correct. Our country's going to hell with being politically correct. Going to hell.
Get him out of here, please. Get him out. Get him out. Are you from Mexico? Are you from Mexico? Huh?
I wonder what he means by the good old days. This can be seen a lot on the internet as well, such as them in the parentheses referring to Jews, or cultural Marxism, a term thrown around by many rightists today, which originated from the term cultural Bolshevism, which was a term coined by the Nazis referring to the Jews. That's a big yikes for me, buddy boy.
The phrase, "it's okay to be white," recently gained notoriety thanks to the garbage can of the internet, 4chan. White nationalists and neo-Nazis on that site designed the phrase specifically to try and piss off people on the left and make white people look like victims.
Say what you will about 4chan, but at least they didn't try to push a girl into committing suicide because she drew amethyst skinny.
Okay. Well, pointing out one bad thing Tumblr did doesn't really disprove her point about 4chan being a shithole, but okay.
Also, they have done a lot of good, especially exposing Burger King foot lettuce. There, I did the joke. Now stop commenting for me to say it.
They wanted a phrase that could embolden white nationalists while appearing innocent to the average person.
Well, they certainly pissed you guys off. It was like the most obvious trap and you guys fell for it. When someone says all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter, you don't like it, and you have the easiest counter. When they say it's okay to be white, you should have said it's okay to be anything. The counter was so easy, but you didn't take it. Instead, you freaked out and did exactly what they wanted.
J.A.R, you know she's talking about the phrase, "it's okay to be white," and not the phrase, "all lives matter," right? For someone complaining about not talking about the discussion at hand, you seem to be doing that a lot in this video.
They wanted to make the public sympathetic to their imaginary cause of white people as a group being oppressed. They desperately wanted to be victim.
Okay, how do you know that? Honestly, if it came from 4chan, they probably just wanted to troll a little.
Ah yes, if it came from 4chan or 8chan, it must just be that because they're trolling. Except for Chris Harper Mercer, the New Zealand shooter, the California synagogue shooter. Oh, well, I'm sure those people just killed those people, ironically, though. 4chan isn't all fun and games like it was back in the Project Chinology days. This racist rhetoric is leading to real-life consequences, and downplaying that is just being ignorant.
Now, I myself don't believe white people are oppressed. Maybe certain white people, but not most of them.
And what do you mean by certain white people? Can you elaborate?
But I do think poor people are oppressed. The media, which is owned by rich people, is just trying to get the races to not like each other. They do the same stuff in prisons, and during slave times. They fired their white workers and only hired a few of them to be slave drivers. That way the black slaves and the poor working class wouldn't work together. It wasn't white people who owned slaves, it was rich white people.
Okay, but what does this have to do with the media? I'm pretty sure Riley is talking about racist people on the internet.
But don't listen to me. I'm either a racist white person or a black Uncle Tom. Listen to Massa. Oh, I mean, the rich man.
I'm going to prove that I'm not a racist by making a racist joke. Brilliant.
And frustratingly, they've kind of succeeded. Flyers with the phrase have been plastered around colleges in the US. Some asshole was actually paid money to give an "it's okay to be white" speech at the University of Connecticut. And white nationalist Tucker Carlson cried about it during his segment on Fox News.
I don't watch Fox News. I don't know enough about the guy. I do know that white supremacists do like him, but that doesn't really prove anything.
If white supremacists like you, that probably means you're saying some pretty racist shit. And what do you know? Turns out he has.
Iraq is a crappy place filled with a bunch of, semi-literate primitive monkeys. Whining from a black politician about how you don't like me because I'm black. Using racism as a defense, right? I catch you doing something bad. Well, you're a racist. The Congressional Black Caucus exists to blame the white man for everything. And I'm happy to say that in public because it's true. When everybody knows that Barack Obama would still be in the state senate in Illinois if he were white.
They also like the Washington State Journal. I did watch the Vox video on him, and I couldn't watch anymore as soon as they said immigration actually makes crime go down.
I know you and the chuds that watch your content think that this is laughable, but this statement has actually been backed by numerous studies, including one by the FBI. Despite having all these people immigrating to the US, the crime rate has significantly dropped. If you'd like to read more on the matter, I'm providing plenty of sources in the description to back up this claim.
But this phrase actually has an even deeper history than just racist asshats gathering on 4chan. The Anti-Defamation League has found much earlier usages of the phrase, including in a 2001 song by a white power band, in white supremacist flyers from 2005.
Yeah, I'm sure white supremacists have used that term. And Ghazi Kozo likes Black Lives Matter. But I'm not going to judge every person in Black Lives Matter by the actions of Ghazi Kozo.
The difference between It's Okay to Be White and Black Lives Matter is the term It's Okay to Be White began with it being a song title of a white power music group. Sure, you could argue that it was brought back recently by totally not racist 4chan shitposters, but when you begin to realize that the biggest proponents of this slogan are David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the KKK, and Tucker Carlson, the same guy that said this,
semi-literate primitive monkeys,
and used by Faith Goldie on a poster board she made at the memorial for the victims of the Christchurch shooting, you can begin to understand why this phrase is so popular with racists. Just like how the OK hand gesture being a white supremacist symbol was originally a joke by 4chan to trick the libtards, is now being used by actual racists as just that. So now you see that the term It's Okay to Be White has racist origins and is still being used by racists today. While the term itself is harmless, its biggest proponents are actual racists, and it is indeed effectively used as a dog whistle.
And a KKK member tweeted the phrase in 2012.
Really? One tweet by a KKK member? That's it?
Well, considering the numerous examples of the term being used by racists, both provided by myself and Riley, I would say that's most certainly not it.
Yeah, and there was a gay neo-Nazi wedding one time. Should I judge gay people off that?
Well, considering neo-Nazism is a doctrine that is extremely homophobic and the obvious fact that Hitler put people in gas chambers for being gay, I would say no. Just like you shouldn't judge the entire black community based off of Jesse Lee Peterson's racist remarks.
If this is your first time coming across the phrase, just know that it isn't the first time for Nazis and white nationalists. For them, it's somewhat of a slogan. It's a way for them to make themselves politically correct in a world that rightfully wants them to fuck off.
Funny, cause I feel the same way about you and your group.
Yes, because the group that wants people to be more accepting is comparable to neo-Nazism.
Like, okay, literally, word for word, with no context, It's Okay to Be White is true.
How about this? It's okay to be white, and Black Lives Matter. I even tweeted that out. Oh, actually, I probably should have told you that last part. Now you're going to say that Black Lives Matter is a white supremacist group.
Yeah, that tweet is great and all, but it doesn't really change the fact that the term is still used as a dog whistle by the majority of its users. Now, the rest of this video is pretty much J.A.R just repeating the same points that were stated earlier, so I'll spare you that part. However, if you want to see his video in its entirety, the link will be provided in the description below. So, one of the many criticisms I received from my last feud with J.A.R was that I didn't reach out to him. I didn't just talk to him about it. I didn't just have a chat with him about it. I just made a video and that was it. Well, with that said, J.A.R, if you are watching this, I would love to have a discussion with you on Discord. We can have a live debate and make it a big fucking, shit show, or we can just talk about it privately. Either way, I'd like to have a discussion with you about this. Either way, though. So I recently got into a feud with a big YouTuber named Just a Robot, and his autistic fanbase basically lynched me for it. Well, attempted to anyway. Well, these people are just the tip of the Zoidberg. These people come from a larger collective known as the animation meme community. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know this shit was a thing until a comment talking about the animation meme children, and I was like, what the fuck is an animation meme? Well, old buddy, old pal, you better grab yourself some popcorn and Mobby's credit card because, oh man, oh boy. Before I start, yes, people have ranted about this before, but they either don't get in-depth enough, or they get way too in-depth and overanalyze the hell out of it, and don't just laugh at it because that's all it deserves. My friend Left was one of the first people to talk about this community back in the day, and he actually did a good job, but he didn't cover everything I want to cover on the subject.
Also those type of freeze kids that are mostly dark because, my parents fight, personal problems, my wrist, Start off all, hee hee. We're normal, even though the background is dark toned, they go all apeshit.
So what's an animation meme? Well, instead of me explaining the intricate details behind such a complicated and strenuous process, let me just show you this Pure, concentrated, weaponized oh wait, I forgot. I can't say that, or else 11-year-olds who smear shit on their walls will get mad at me for being mean.
Soldier boy, I'm in it. Why me crank it? Why me roll? Why me crank that soldier boy? That Superman. That why me crank that soldier? 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 Now what? Soldier boy, I'm in it. Why me crank it? Why me roll? Why me crank that soldier boy? That Superman. That why me.
Now, back in my day, long ago in the distant past of 2009, this retarded shit would have been laughed out of the room into oblivion. But now that YouTube is filled with a bunch of retarded 12-year-olds that dictate the content of adults, now we have autistic adults that pander to 12-year-olds to get money and views, and now we have an entire website ran by children that will hopefully grow out of this shit. This kind of autistic shit gets uploaded daily, and it accumulates thousands of views and thousands of likes and thousands of comments saying how quirky and relatable this content is to the furry community. And don't even get me started on this god-awful music that appeals to the Skrillex fags from the 2010s and fucking preteens who think Infinity War is woke. Yes, you guys finally collabed, and it's so flippin' amazing. May I ask what's so fucking entertaining about this shit? It's fucking furry shit, and they're bobbing their heads to terrible music that you would hear in a fucking Call of Duty quickscoping tutorial intro. It's bottom feeder trash that not even the most brain dead of sickle cell patients would find entertaining. If I showed this to Christopher Reeves, he wouldn't need to suck the blood of aborted fetuses to run away from this shit. Wow, DarkScythe, you're so edgy! You wanna see fucking edgy? God, this shit is just so terrible. But I'm just scratching the surface. There's people that have made a career out of reviewing this shit. I'm not even kidding.
What the frick is up? I bit my tongue. This is a show where we review animation, memes.
What? Why does this shit exist? What? Oh no. Just oh no. Enter PK Russell, a YouTuber that has legit made a career off of reviewing these god-awful animation memes. And the most pathetic thing about it is, he originally made a rant shit-talking these things.
What is the meme? What's the meme about this? It's just an animation to music. That's all it is.
Then when he realized it got him views, he started to review them to, well, get more views. So not only is he retarded, he's a disingenuous retard.
Is it a animation? 5 points available in that category. Does it have a meme? 5 points available in that category. Does it have a purpose? 5 points available in that category. Is it art? 5 points available in that category. For a grand total of 20 points. If it gets a score of 10 or higher, I give it a like. If it gets a score of 10 or lower, I give it a dislike.
But wait, 10 or higher, it gets a like. 10 or lower, it gets a dislike. What if it gets a 10? Do you like it or dislike it? I swear this makes no goddamn sense. Then again, I'm probably overanalyzing this shit. It's way too retarded to actually attempt to make sense of it. And now he found this niche. Now people are starting to copy him.
Life is just the intro to death, my little sleepy derps. Eternity is the true feature presentation.
What the fuck did I just watch?
The most notable thing about this animation meme is that nothing loops. Can you believe it? The video goes from one drawing to the next and doesn't repeat. The art style for the character is simplistic but effective. The only problems are a few anatomy issues, especially around the shoulders. Like in this frame, the right shoulder is slightly longer than the left, and in this one the neck is off center. The timing is pretty good. The only thing it's missing in the animation is just...
You're treating this shitty 2 frames of animation as it were being judged at your local film festival. To be brutally honest, this is just a way for people to show off their OCs without resorting to E621.net and cheese graters. Then of course, some people that rant about it.
First of all, each animation meme is pretty much all the same no matter whatever video you click on. Oh, come on, you're exaggerating. They're not exactly the same.
Are you sure about that?
I know what some of you are thinking.
Oh, but if they're supposed to follow the same formula, then of course they would be the same.
Well, that's no fucking excuse, especially in something like animation where there's so many different ways that you can portray something, or so many different ways that you can do something. If you guys went to a movie theater that played romantic movies, but every single romantic movie was exactly the same, it all had the same plot, it had the same soundtrack, the only difference was the actors and some of the scenery, would you let that slide? No? Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
No. Stop. Why are you overanalyzing this shit? Just make fun of it. It's laughable. There's no need to give a long-winded argument as to why they're bad. Just let the shit speak for itself, and anyone with a brain will realize it's retarded. You don't have to spoon-feed your audience this bullshit on why they're bad. Why would you even take this shit seriously?
But DarkScythe, you're hypocritical because you're talking about it too. Gotcha!
Yeah, but I'm not gonna sit here and analyze the shit out of these autistic animation memes like professional animation meme reviewers. It's just stupid to even give it that much credit. It's a fucking autistic furry OC, donut steel, bobbing their head to shitty music that appeals to the lowest common denominator. There, I completely, perfectly explained that shit in one sentence. It's not deep or intriguing at all. You're acting like this is the fucking lore to the Matrix or some J.R.R. Tolkien shit. It's not. So, that's pretty much the animation meme community in a nutshell. But this autistic community has subgenres, if you will. Subgenres that include fetishizing cartoon characters. Have you ever seen one of those animated videos where someone talks about a crazy story that's just so quirky and relatable? Well, I have two and they're fucking trash. I am in love with an animated girl. Is that creepy? Yes, that most certainly is creepy, considering you're in your fucking 20s.
Alright, so we're gonna answer 2 questions in this video. 1, is it weird to fall for a cartoon?
Yes.
And 2, is it weird that I wanted to date a car?
Excuse me, what?
Alright, audience retention is gone to shit. I should probably just start the video. Growing up, my parents always told me that one day I would start finding girls attractive, which at about 8 years old, I highly doubted. The girls were gross, and they didn't poop. Like, y'all really pushing it here. But maybe a year or 2 later, they ended up being like half right, because I didn't start liking girls, I started liking animated girls. The girl from El Dorado, you are too fine, that's a dub. Misty from Pokemon, that is a dime, ladies and gentlemen. Lola Bunny, I guess I'm a furry now, I'd fuck.
Wow, I'm absolutely shocked. Who would have seen this unexpected turn of events?
Honest to God, even my first real definite crush who I had feelings for was a cartoon. And you wanna know who it was? It was freaking Roxanne from the fucking Goofy movie, my G.
Look at how proud and enthusiastic he is, as if this was some kind of badge of honor to show the filthy dredges of society. Look at all you plebeians with your IRL women. Pfft, losers. I've had intercourse with over 9,000 lolly anime girls.
Dime piece. And really, I can honestly say I had feelings for her. It was so bad that I remember actively finding every clip of media that she was in and watching it, which was the Goofy movie and 1 episode of Mouse in the House. I'm very sad I know that information. I guess you could say I was trying to make her my bitch.
As you can see, I have collected a large variety of animated sex slaves in my day, many of them inanimate objects, but as my leftist liberal friends tell me, love is love, and frankly shouldn't have any boundaries.
A year went by and then I started to get into anime, which made things 10 times worse because not only did I have actual feelings for these fake characters, but I also started to become irreverent to the whole crazy girlfriend thing. I don't care if you're going to kill all my friends if I speak to them again. It's fine. I barely leave the house anyway.
I can see why.
But I knew it was bad when I was chilling with a friend watching this movie, and one of the characters I really resonated with. They were really nice and kind and determined, and I loved their voice. And I realized that I definitely had a crush on that character. We were also watching Cars 3.
Nope. This is too much for me. I'm out. And that's the animation meme community. Now hopefully I can get 1K subs soon, so I can get my money for a shotgun to blow my brains out after seeing this Tism storm. Thank you, and good night.
What's going on, everyone? Today I would like to give my 2 cents on this whole JReviews thing, because I saw the video, and I found it really terrible. Really terrible, the JReviews rant. Not because I'm a fan of JReviews and found the video to be offensive because they were insulting one of my favorite content creators. Quite frankly, I don't really enjoy JReviews videos. They are not my cup of tea. I don't really give a shit about most cartoons nowadays. I'm not into cartoon reviews. That whole genre is just not appealing to me whatsoever. But I have checked out some of his videos. I do know what he's all about. And watching this response, this rant, I should say, really pissed me off because, 1, the criticisms are stupid. 2, there are plenty of criticisms that I have that are very valid of JReviews' channel that they did not use. They really could have, this is really just a missed opportunity, this rant video. They really could have, you know, given actual criticisms to his actual content, and not just his actions alone. Don't get me wrong, if you're doing a rant on somebody, perfectly fine if you're criticizing their actions and such. Perfectly fine. But if you're, you know, criticizing a content creator, you might want to criticize their content a little bit. You know, one example would be, there was one part where one of the people, I don't know any of the people other than AM on this video, but there's one part where someone was saying that, you know, oh, well, JReviews shit-talked Family Guy. Don't you know that? Family Guy's satire? He shit-talked it for being offensive. Don't you know it's satire? Personally, that is a good, valid argument. Don't get me wrong. That was okay, a decent argument. I would have said, wow, you think Family Guy is offensive, but yet South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut is your favorite movie of all time? Pretty interesting considering that South Park takes their jokes way farther than Family Guy ever would. Now, I couldn't find JReviews' video about Family Guy. I don't know if he took it down after this video was released. Maybe I just couldn't find it. I don't know, but I couldn't find it. But I'm just going to take their word for it that JReviews did indeed say this. Because South Park is more offensive than Family Guy. And it's also better than Family Guy, but that's beside the point. So, you know, I just feel like it's a really big missed opportunity, because here are the big points they really want to drive home to you, to explain to you how much of a retard this person is. 1, he's a Mr. Enter clone. He's a Mr. Enter clone, and if you say it in Discord chat, he's going to leave that Discord chat. 2, he's working on a game, and he doesn't know how to code. Wow, what a dumbass. 3, he's making a DVD collection of Vidly videos, which he actually contacted me about a while back to put some of my videos on there, and I gave him permission because I don't know, it was like, whatever, I don't give a shit. And allegedly, he's taking off people from these DVD collections, people that he doesn't like, people that have pissed him off. And do they give any proof of any of this whatsoever? No, they don't show you anything. They just say it. They expect you to take their fucking word for it. And that really rubbed me the wrong way. They don't show any instance of him leaving a Discord chat when somebody mentions the fact that he's a Mr. Enterclo. No audit logs or anything like that. You know, they don't show it or give any examples of who he took off of these DVD collections. They don't give any examples of that whatsoever. They just expect you to just take their word for it. Now, look, I'm not sitting here and calling them liars. I'm just saying, as an outsider kind of myself, I was given absolutely no context to this shit whatsoever. I was given no proof. I was given no screenshots. I was given jack fucking shit about it. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like, you know, if you're gonna be making an argument against somebody, at least, you know, give some decent fucking evidence to back up your claims. You know, that's very big. That's like ranting 101. You give fucking evidence for your claims. I mean, that's just a basic fucking thing. And now, whether or not JReviews is a Mr. Enter clone or whatever, I don't really give a shit about that. But well, I find it really funny though, considering, you know, this person making the video is a total fucking Leafy clone. I don't like to use the word Leafy clone lightly because, you know, people call ranters, commentators, whatever, they call everybody Leafy clones, just because apparently Leafy's the king of commentaries, and he invented the commentary genre, which is fucking bullshit. But this guy's kind of a Leafy clone. I mean, I really can't deny that. I mean, he starts all his videos with, "Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new video." He uses the titles very similar to Leafy, the JReviews rant, you know. And it's just like, dude, if you're gonna call someone a clone, that's fine. Call someone up for being a clone all you want, I don't give a shit. But don't sit there and be a fucking Leafy clone. That's kind of hypocritical, if you ask me. But I think my favorite part is when this fucking Squeaker kid comes on and talks about how JReviews' voice is annoying. He sits there and goes, "He has a really high-pitched voice and he's really annoying, haha." Kid, do you hear yourself? I mean, God, do you have any concept of irony whatsoever? Jesus Christ. And I also love how the main person in this video clarifies, this is not a personal attack whatsoever. And then later on, one of the people in this video, you know, goes after him and calls him a pussy and all this shit. And I'm just like, you know, there's nothing wrong with personal attacks. I love personal attacks. I indulge in personal attacks all the fucking time. I'm not gonna sit here and say, wow, you're using ad hominems, oh my god. But at the same time, it's like, if you are, you know, personally attacking somebody, you should man up to it and admit that you're personally attacking somebody and not be a fucking pussy and say, oh, I'm not personally attacking you, you fucking pussy, not personally attacking you. What, me personally attack you? Whoa, not me, never. And then one of the people on there go on to call JReviews childish. Well, JReviews is a child, so I mean, you know, children tend to act childish. You know, it's kind of the point. They're children. They tend to act childish. That's kind of how it works. And last but not least, the repetition of this video. Holy shit. Those 3 points I mentioned earlier, those are the only 3 points they bring up, and they repeat them about 10 fucking times. Like, dude, I get it. He leaves Discord chats and gets triggered. I get it. You don't have to tell me 10 times. You can just tell me the first time, and I get it. Like, literally, most of these little cameos were completely pointless because they just repeated what the original person said verbatim. They added nothing new to the discussion, they just repeated what he said. Like, good God, like, if you're gonna have cameos, that's fine. That's what I do in my peer review series. You know, this video is very similar to my peer review series. However, they did a shitty job at executing it, but that goes beside the point. You know, they added nothing new to the table. They just repeated what each and every person says, and it was honestly just really annoying to watch, but yeah, that's really all I have to say. Thanks for watching. More content by me is coming soon.
So I was minding my own business, reading my copy of the Communist Manifesto by, not Karl Marx, Bill O'Reilly, and Rush Limbaugh, because as everyone knows, communism is right-wing. And if you've been living under a fucking rock, this video by renowned political theorist, the hardcore liberal, explains it all.
Most of the communist regimes of years gone by were also far right-wing conservative tyrannies.
Wait a minute. This voice sounds familiar. Have I heard this before?
Too Smart for Strangers is an 80s PSA on the Disney Channel with a bunch of people running around in Winnie the Pooh costumes.
I've noticed a lot of fucking conservatives have been wrongfully labeling Nazis as liberals and left-wing and all that.
Oh. Faggot, probably one of the biggest lolcows on the internet. If you take a look at his failed abortion of a channel, you'll find some real quality, quirky, and relatable content. Instant classics like Cuphead Cringe Compilation, Creepy Minecraft 3D Animation Cringe Compilation, and my favorite of them all, Go Animate Cringe Compilation. If you guys didn't know, Kalu Go Animate You're Grounded videos are dumb. Nobody had discovered such a revelation until Indiana Jones here found this fabled Ark of the Covenant. He also makes terrible attempts at satire videos with his emo Mario 64 alter ego, with a screeching text-to-speech voice. By the end of one of these bad boys, you'll want to staple your ears shut, gouge your eyes out, and grab your testicles until they cry, "Come all ye faithful."
Commentary on that asshole Jesus with Leviticus 79. Aside from bullying my poor friend who treat me good, this guy is also a big Doom fanboy. What the fuck is wrong with this guy's taste in games? How can anyone like that violent murder simulator that caused the Columbine shooting? After all, Jack Thompson, Jonathan McIntosh, and Anita Sarkeesian said Doom was evil and causes people to kill, so that means it's true.
Now this guy likes to comment on his GuriGorloX account and pretend he's a fan of mine. It's so funny looking back at this video, how MXT got so offended over swastikas and Hitler jokes. Yet not long after he said this, he said all non-Christians would go to hell. But then on his alt account, "Fuck off, conservatard!" Well, you tried, buddy. You tried. I was going through some emails to see what I could find because I know this guy has messaged me before, and I found this absolute treasure of a message. Hey, I wanted to ask about MXT and waifus, because I know how creepy he is about that shit. In your personal opinion, is it just that MXT is so obsessive about the waifu thing that it creeps you out? Or is it the fact that he likes a fictional female character and finds them attractive at all? Does that bother you? I don't care what the answer is, but I just wanted some clarification. I do agree, although it's very creepy when guys act like these characters are their crushes and waifus, but I wasn't sure whether or not you found it creepy that people would find female characters attractive. Which again, if you do, I understand. I just want to hear your opinion. Just to let you know, I find a ton of fictional characters attractive, but I do think it's very pathetic and sad when people go as far as to act like they are literally in love with characters that aren't even real. Now, Guri Boy sounds very concerned I'm making fun of someone that is attracted to female fictional characters. And this message even goes as far as to say he finds some fictional characters attractive. Now, what fictional characters are we talking about here, mister? Some monster girl shit? Big titty goth GF gamer anime grills? Mike Wazowski? You seem to be very concerned I might end up making fun of a little fetish you have there. I wonder what it could possibly be.
Now, I just wanted to talk about something that's been bothering me for a while. Now, as you might know, I am a clapper.
Oh, maybe it could be that. Did you not want me making fun of the fact that you jack off to cartoon horses in your free time?
And quite frankly, I feel that the people who are bashing clappers are fucking douchebags. And I feel that they're the people who hate on other people for having different fetishes or being bigots.
I can't believe this injustice in our society. People making fun of you because you get off to cartoon horses getting fisted? How dare these bigots? Because it's apparently bigoted to be against cartoon bestiality.
And quite frankly, I am really getting sick and fucking tired of this shit. They're fucking cartoons. Okay, why, what the hell is the big fucking deal? They're not real. They're fucking cartoons. They're fictional.
See, guys? It's just cartoons. It's not like that exact argument can be used for lolicon and shotacon porn and all kinds of other horrible, degenerate shit.
And, it's not like as if we're rubbing it in your fucking face. It's not like as if we're rubbing it in you know, like, other people's faces or whatever, so really, why the fuck are you complaining?
Now, some of you guys might be thinking that this guy is a troll at this point. Well, I can promise you, he's not. Now, I'm gonna put aside the fact that my friends have been in calls with this guy and interacted with him, and seeing that he's an actual spurg, because I don't have these calls in my possession, unfortunately. So just look at it this way. Take a look at Guri's channel. You see that the video is down. Why is that? He bitched out and deleted it after people started making fun of him for it. Now there's one thing in common with every troll. They want attention, whether it's to prove a point about an individual or a group of people, or just to piss people off and waste their time for no other reason than their own amusement. So, with that said, if he was trolling, he wouldn't have taken down that video, would he? At least, that's my conclusion. Now, you're probably saying, but DarkScythe, you're talking about cloppers in the current year? You're being a hippopotamus by beating a dead horse! Well, that's not the point of this video. I just wanted to let everyone know what kind of stand-up citizen we're dealing with before talking about the main point. So, Guri Gargles on Horse Semen is a special little boy that gets all of his news from tabloids that he finds in dumpsters from mom-and-pop shops in the outskirts of town, and legitimately has no understanding of how the political spectrum works whatsoever. So let's just get into this WrestleMania feud.
Okay, so, hello, this is the Hardcore Liberal here, once again with an amazing rant. This time, this one's gonna be big. I've noticed a lot of fucking conservatives have been wrongfully labeling Nazis as liberals and left-wing and all that, because they stand for National Socialist, must mean that they're left-wing liberals. Well, not only are they wrong that neo-Nazis are liberals because of the fact that obviously Nazis were right-wing conservatives.
Although you are technically correct here, the way you word it is kind of shitty. You see, the Nazis would be right around here on the political compass, meaning they're a far cry from your average, everyday, right-wing conservative.
But here's another truth that a lot of conservatives will deny. The Soviet Union and most communist, especially the worst ones, most of the communist regimes of years gone by were also far right-wing conservative tyrannies.
You're kidding. Right? Right?
Wrong. Let me explain.
Oh yes. Please do.
Let's start off with the Nazis. Now, obviously,
Today, Junior?
The fact that they think that, oh, Nazi means National Socialist, the fact that they think that means they're left-wing is stupid. Just because they're called socialists doesn't mean they're left-wing, and they're not even really socialists. They were actually capitalists. And, even if they were socialists, the fact that the Nazis stood for racial discrimination and genocide automatically means that they're right-wing by default. I mean, the whole point to them was to kill all the Jews, kill all the black people, kill all the gays, kill all the disabled people, kill basically everyone who isn't a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, fit person or whatever.
Wrong. This means you are inherently authoritarian on the political spectrum, not right-wing. Right and left on the political spectrum are strictly talking about economic issues, hence the X-axis. Libertarian and authoritarian are where you stand on social and foreign policy issues, hence the Y-axis. This gives more context to where you actually stand as opposed to just a black and white kind of deal. That would be a false dichotomy.
So yeah, conservatives are obviously fucking full of shit when they claim that Nazis are left-wing, because they're obviously right-wing. But even then, with the communists, they are also right-wing too. First off, let's talk about Joseph Stalin, probably the most infamous communist leader out there in history. First off, he also hated the Jews like Hitler. He also hated gay people, and he was also a racist. So automatically he's right-wing and conservative.
Nope, that makes him authoritarian. We've been over this.
And also, he, even though, conservatives want to say, oh, well, Stalin was an atheist and he killed Christians. Well, if anything, that just means he's a right-wing atheist. Like, just because someone's an atheist or someone's a Christian doesn't mean that they're right-wing or left-wing. Like, Stalin, was right-wing. He killed a lot of people who didn't agree with him. Means he's right-wing and shit.
I'm just gonna let this point speak for itself. Stalin is authoritarian left. Clearly his economic positions are not anything that can possibly be perceived as right-wing. The fact that you think that killing people you disagree with is an inherent right-wing trait just goes to show how little you really know about politics.
Next up, there's Mao Zedong. He was a nationalist. He valued Chinese nationalism. Automatically means he's right-wing. Same thing with all other communist leaders. They were all right-wing. They were all ultra-nationalist. And yeah, you may argue that, their economic policies may have been left-wing, but that doesn't automatically mean the people themselves were left-wing. In fact, all horrible, tyrannical leaders throughout history were pretty much right-wing.
Right, except for this guy. The only white man you can trust is a dead white man.
Left-wing, aka liberal, means free.
Liberal. Open to new behavior or opinions and willing to discard traditional values. Yep, don't see anything about freedom here, just that a liberal advocates challenging traditional values. You're thinking of libertarian on the political spectrum.
And tyranny is the opposite of free, so really, that means conservatism. And conservatism means no freedom, and stay the same all the time and be traditional and fit the social mold or else. So, yeah, basically, not only were the Nazis and the communists both right-wing conservatives, all horrible, evil people who took over, countries and lands and stuff and did horrible things were right-wing conservatives.
You heard it here. Every single horrible person ever is a right-winger. Now, for the remainder of the video, he basically just whines about how much he hates conservatives and shit, so I'll spare you the autistic temper tantrum. Now, just to make it clear, I'm left-wing myself if you couldn't already tell, but to say that every horrible dictator was right-wing is just factually incorrect. And before DarkScythe, I was playing 4G Mahjong and baited you into making this video for commentary material. So I win, loser. Well, either way, you still jack off to.
Been a bit of a mixed reaction to my videos on the Slideshow commentary community. I want to take a look at these reactions with you. So what exactly are they? Mr. A. This guy really out here pretending to be DarkScythe from 2017. Even used the exact same background and everything. Wait, where have we seen this guy before? In 2020, when I made fun of doodle tones. Huh, that's strange. I swear the community is denying the very thing that they keep doing. Pink Robot. Why does this feel familiar too? With this combined with Nekokoda being the talk of the community again, I feel as if I'm in a time loop. You and me both, Pink. Poor soul, forever trapped in a bygone era. If it truly was a bygone era, I don't think this community would be in the current state that it is. A far more degraded state than it was prior. From Nicole, who is formerly DarkScythe. I guess I managed to get his panties in a twist too. That's exactly what I said. And the quote retweets are great. I'll give 2017 Nicole this. At least her avatar wasn't partially cut off for some reason. Oh my god, guys. His horn is cut off. What will I do? They can't see it. How will they know it's there? Whenever I see this guy, it's like the abyss is staring back at me. I apologize for the monster I created. Who the fuck is that? Right, who the fuck is this guy? Akumu. Literally DarkScythe Jr. I skimmed that channel, and they literally stole your entire persona. Nobody in the comments noticed either. This is weird. Also, CC channels have literally nothing to talk about, because why are they making Doodle Tones rants in 2022. The conclusion I came to was they're every bit a bunch of spurgs, as they claim the CCR, and want to pretend like old drama is still relevant. Cough, just a Sylveon cough. This tie-dye fellow, let's take a look at his content.
Also, God, why do you commentators care so much about how well a Pokemon can survive a fucking tsunami?
Okay, this is the point that a lot of people who checked my script argued about. Yes, you could argue that a Dark-type Luxray would have the major advantage against Psychic types and Ghost types. However, it would still face 3 major weaknesses in Fairy, Fighting, and Bug-type Pokemon, as well as Ground. That is why we cared.
What? Did anyone understand what any of that fucking meant? I don't understand a single fucking thing that comes out of his mouth. Sure, it's a clip from the middle of the video, and it may seem like I've altered or edited that clip. That is unedited. I downloaded it straight from his channel, took a clip, plopped it in. You remember how I said these people all sound the exact fucking same? There's just something with their voice that makes them sound the exact same. You can add him to the list. And what was this guy's words again? They're every bit a bunch of spurgs, as they say the CCR. I'm not arguing whether a Pokemon or a fucking Digimon can beat up the other. If it isn't obvious, they don't like me mentioning Doodle Tones or referencing the past. Or because Doodles is joked on here and there, the video must be about him. Doodles is the punchline of the joke because they chose their circle jerk to be centered around him. The video is about the community around him and then him. And I reference the past because this community does the exact same shit it used to. Oh wait, I caught myself. Used to is the wrong word. This community does the exact same shit it was doing back in 2017. And you could argue that they do it even more than before, comparing me to DarkScythe, or Nicole, which I also brought up in my previous video. DarkScythe is a commentator that criticized them in the past. Now, apparently I'm copying him, because I dare use the same background he did. I'm DarkScythe Jr., or pretending to be DarkScythe. And this comparison is great for a handful of reasons. You guys know that behavior I've talked about or have been talking about from the SCC. The dogpile and bandwagon with the embarrassing attempts to dunk on something or someone. And usually because Doodles is made fun of, constantly protecting him. It's been in their community for a while. They did it for Doodles and his diaper fetish 2016-2017, they did it to me in 2020 and 2021, and most recently Alex, which is this year. Funny enough, they also did this same thing to DarkScythe numerous times. The best being when they created a #SaltCC, all because of the trailer for his Undying Shapeshifter video. They hadn't even seen his video yet, and he was already rent-free, making them foam and froth at the mouth. It's a little ironic to compare me to someone who they've also done this same shit to, while denying doing it. How am I supposed to be insulted or be ashamed when you all get PTSD from the past, all because I point out you're doing the same exact shit you were doing years ago? And the irony doesn't stop there. You all were doing the same shit 2 years ago, comparing me to someone else you also did your crusade against, because this isn't the first time I've been compared to DarkScythe. Back in 2020, before I even knew who DarkScythe was, I was compared to him for calling Doodles Sean, and referring to him with male pronouns, that DarkScythe did the same, and that even he apologized for it, like I'm supposed to give a shit. But come on guys, they don't do the same shit as the past. I'm the one that's stuck in the past. Now regarding this background, I used this same background in my video talking about Doodles in 2020, before I knew who DarkScythe was and the role he played in that drama. So thank you for this comparison. I greatly appreciate it. As much as you all are acting like it's some kind of insult, I find it beautiful, because the amount of constant spurging over DarkScythe just makes it a compliment. I doubt I'll even have the same effect he had on you all, but this immediate comparison tells me I'm doing something right. I make fun of you all for your dog-piling holy war crusades. Uh-oh, another reference to DarkScythe. What will I do?
I don't look for meanies like Mr. Medicare to start holy wars against.
And you compare me to someone else you also did the same things to. But the irony doesn't stop there. It never does with this community. Best part comes from Mr. A, who's the one saying I'm pretending to be DarkScythe, you know, mentioning DarkScythe and the act of pretending. You know what? Maybe, just maybe he's right. He'd know all about pretending. I mean, he did LARP as a Yu-Gi-Oh character. He would be able to recognize someone else pretending, right? Something DarkScythe also made fun of him for. Surely Nicole isn't living in his head rent-free because of that. Oh, wait a second. The person who compared me to DarkScythe in 2020, that was also Mr. A. Well, that's interesting. A community centered around Doodles, all trying to interact and get attention from him, and many of them flat out just trying to be carbon copies. Now they're accusing me of copying someone else. Slumber and Lindata are just to name a few who wanted to be copies of Doodles at one point. This community collectively acts like a pack of hungry dogs anytime they get any criticism, but especially when it goes to their king. If you criticize Doodles for something in the past, it's the immediate Doodles has changed, and you can't use the past, even when you're pointing out a reoccurring behavior. I did it in my last 2 videos, and so far the reaction has been the herd huffing copium over it, because it referenced the past. Your argument is immediately invalid to them the moment you do it. Here's an example. Darkness Stone server. I think 2020, 2021. They took issue with me not liking doodle tones, demanding I send the evidence to the server because they refused to watch my video. When I did send the evidence, the immediate response, could you take a guess, it was Doodles had changed and I'm using the past. And after that, they tried to ban me from the server. What's even better is that while Doodles gets this treatment of past equals point wrong, regardless of how you do it, Doodles doesn't give that treatment to anyone else. And neither does the SCC. Just recently, Doodles dropped a video discussing another video that Nekokoda had made. Why is that remotely important? Because the video that Nekokoda had made was deleted. And it was made almost 4 or 5 fucking years ago. Now from what I can tell, Nekokoda pointed this out, and what did Susie do in response? Several autistic Twitter threads within the span of 24 hours. When it comes to doodle tones, while sure doodle tones probably has changed a bit, that autism is still there. It's just bottled up. And occasionally, that lid gets a little loose and some of that autism leaks out. The SCC have always protected him with some entertaining mental gymnastics, whether it be denying his diaper fetish, 2016, diverting the conversation into a gender debate because of fucking pronouns, 2020 and 2021, acting as though you're wrong if you reference the past, that's been a thing that they've always done, and making really retarded analogies for their counter arguments. I'm not making these videos or making fun of you all simply to get a reaction out of you, because I'm willing to bet there are many that think that. Even if I was, I'm getting the reaction either way. I'm doing it because it's funny and it's easy content. I know you won't change. You couldn't do it back in 2017, so why should I expect that of you now? And at this point, why would I want you to? I can just sit back and laugh. DarkScythe also realized you all weren't ever going to change. You always were and always are going to crusade and dogpile for doodles. Community that is socially adjusted to do so. And Nicole. That's really how we're putting it. If we're really going to get into some DC Comics level of pretentious backstory, you didn't make this monster. I've been like this long before I even knew who you were. I just got better at it with time and experience interacting with this shit show of a community. If there's anyone responsible for me making fun of them, it's themselves and me. I remind you of yourself, and you hate yourself, or at least your past self. Regardless of that, I think it's pretty clear the effect you've had on these people when they're practically having Vietnam flashbacks, and I gotta respect that. I respect who you were, because goddamn was it hilarious. Shit was legendary. DarkScythe also went on to point out how I'm copying Mr. Metokur, because I referenced Metokur's video on Doodles. Hey Metokur, I forgot to do my homework last night. Can I copy yours? He's a transgender ally, guys. He's got to get that fact out there. That's everybody's business. Everyone needs to know. Everyone needs to know.
Do a video. I love me a tranny with a voice changer who happens to tell me every possible second of the day that they're asexual. Gotta get that fact out there. Very important that people know you're asexual. Every fucking moment of the day.
I absolutely did reference Metokur in the video for 2 reasons. Someone commented prior stating I was a hybrid of Metokur and ER. And second, the entire point of the first and second videos on that niche little community was to reference the past while talking about the present. How else am I supposed to prove my point that they're doing the same shit that they were doing then if I don't bring up the past? We went from DarkScythisms to Metokurisms. When you're using a similar avatar, copying their mannerisms, directly quoting them, making a video on the exact same subject matter that they did in 2016, bring nothing new to the table, yeah, I think that goes a little past referencing. You just lack any originality, man. The similar avatar, this photo, is supposed to reference my profile picture. And making a video on the same subject matter, what the fuck are you even talking about? Metokur talked about doodle tones. Mostly, I'm talking about the community surrounding doodle tones. How is that the same subject matter? If you're wondering why Nicole's panties are in a twist, I think I know why. And my idea might be right on the money. When I actually learned of DarkScythe and looked at some of the content and learned about him in late 2020 to 2021, after responding to the FCK, I made fun of her a little bit. I poked fun at some of the retarded shit she said in some of those YouTube videos. Now, why? Well, Nicole has a lot of those videos taken down,
but I do have some archives. To summarize what DarkScythe became, imagine the Joker, because clearly DarkScythe is the Joker. I mean, he referenced the Joker in his video.
Now I just want to see it burn.
Falling into a vat of leftist anarcho-communist identity politics. The end point that I want to get across, and one of the favorite things I love about this, is the constant comparison between me and other content creators. Whether it be me being compared to DarkScythe because I use the same background animation, or because I made a direct reference to Medic, I'm ripping him off. Whether it be my Stills horn not fully showing, it's because they can't address the points and want to avoid doing so. They would rather try and, I guess you could say, make a mockery of it. And in their attempt to do so, they just look really fucking retarded because they're grasping at the tiniest of things. But that is usually how the slideshow commentary community does it. When they want to try to mock something, they grab something about it that is extremely tiny, extremely minuscule, and blow it out of proportion, and often repeat it. But it's great entertainment. It's fun to watch. And if I really, really wanted to copy Mr. Medicer, I could do something like this, which was specifically made for this video. But you know what? You guys hate this so fucking much. I might actually use this at some point. I don't know just yet. You hate any similarity to Medicer, and hate any similarity to DarkScythe. I might have some fun with that, because I enjoy pissing in your cereal. He's a transgender ally, guys. He's got to get that fact out there. That's everybody's business. Everyone needs to know. Everyone needs to know.
A video. I love me a tranny with a voice changer who happens to tell me every possible second of the day that they're asexual. Gotta get that fact out there. Very important that people know you're asexual. Every fucking moment.
Do I have a treat for you guys? Now, the guy I talked about in my pronoun video specifically responded to him for about 60 to 70% of the video. He managed to shit out a response, and it's just as I predicted. Not because I'm some all-knowing deity, but he's just that fucking retarded. The irony here is that he takes issue with me using Nekocoda to represent their behaviors, because Nekocoda isn't in the SEC, but then he goes out of his way to do the same type of shit Nekocoda does as an SEC member.
Okay, well that doesn't prove anything. You said Nekocoda was in the SEC, she's not. The fact that I, someone who is in the SEC, agrees with her in this one situation doesn't mean that she is. You've made a video responding to Nekocoda. I've made multiple videos responding to Nekocoda. I'm in the SEC. Would it therefore be correct to say that by responding to Nekocoda, you're doing something that happens in the SEC because you're a member of it? Obviously not. That would be ridiculous.
Nowhere in my video did I state him agreeing with Coda meant Coda was in their community. My point was, he thought I was actually lumping Coda in because of the pronoun crusading, because I followed it up with, especially in the SEC. He responded by saying Coda wasn't in the community, so I used him as an example of pronoun crusading in the community instead. If my point is wrong about you all crusading over pronouns, because Coda isn't in your community, why would you go out of your way as someone in that community to do the same shit I'm saying you're doing? Make it make sense. Proving the very point. But the cream of this crop comes from the fact that Doodletones also lumped Nekocoda into their little community in his video talking about the SEC. In the thumbnail, and in the video itself.
Yeah, and Neko commented on that video and said, quote, "So I already told Susie in private, but I want to leave this here. While I don't have beef with anyone in the community, I prefer not to associate myself with any one community. Nothing against the SEC, really just a personal thing."
But if I do it to make a point about their little community, my point is invalid.
No, Doodletones was equally as wrong to call Nekocoda a member of the SEC as you are. And side note, you'd think somebody who does not like Doodletones would have an easier time comprehending the idea that Doodletones was just wrong in this one instance.
I never said Coda was in your community because Doodles lumped him in. Point was hypocrisy. Susie didn't seem to like the fact I was apparently lumping Nekocoda in for a point against this special little community. But he also lumped Coda in just a few months ago. This is 2 times now. He's made something up and then responded to it. Another little fun fact. I actually never lumped Coda in with her community. For my Coping Coda video, my words were, Neko's video is really a fine example of what many people do in this fucking community, especially the SCC and the ArtCC. In his original response, he just acted like I was lumping him in, when I said he's an example of what many people do in this community regarding commentary, and especially the SCC and ArtCC. Wait, What was it that I said at the end of my response? At the end of my pronoun crusade video? Now I know exactly what's going to happen in response. They're going to lose their shit, deny, misconstrue, and misrepresent. The same fucking go-to tactic when there's any criticism that goes their way. And that sure aged like fine wine. This first started when he misrepresented my point about Coda in the commentary community, that I was supposedly lumping Coda in with the SCC. Neko's video is really a fine example of what many people do in this fucking community, especially the SCC.
The community that Neko does not associate with, but okay.
And he did it again when I suggested to Coda that he could maybe respect a disagreement. An alternative assessment. Neko believes Carmen's a woman. Others believe Carmen's a man, because he's a male. So, they call Carmen a he. Neko calls Carmen a she. Why do they do that? Because differing beliefs.
Respect Akumu's opinion.
And apparently that was me saying my opinion should be respected. Neko, just like many other in the pronoun posse, like to make it about basic respect and basic empathy.
Respect and empathy are hard concepts to grasp for transphobes.
Well, you could basically respect the fact that other people disagree.
If you're not going to respect anyone else, why should anyone else respect you?
And after I pointed out these things in that video, that he was misrepresenting my points, George decides he's going to do the exact same thing he did with the first one for 17 fucking minutes. I don't need to keep you here for 17 to 18 minutes to prove my point. And that's why you have a cherry on top for this short video. But also, he then goes and does the same thing that Neko Coda was doing, which is why I use Neko Coda as a point of reference.
So you used Neko Coda as a point of reference in your original video because you knew that I, in the future, was going to make a video responding to you, where I make similar points along the lines of what she's made? Well, if that's the case, first off, that would mean you can see the future, and in that case, I'd recommend you use it for something a little less lame. The fuck? I don't get that. But even then, if this behavior really is so widespread among the SCC, that does not answer the question as to why your example was somebody who does not associate with it. What you're basically telling me is this behavior is so widespread, yet you couldn't even come up with an example within the community of it occurring until after you made your original video, because somebody responded to your original video. Do you see the issue with acting like this behavior is as widespread as you claim it is?
Again, wasn't my fucking point. I was pointing out how retarded you have to be to deny your community doing something that I didn't have a proper example because you misrepresented my point about Coda, and then you give me one as an SCC member. You go out of your way as an SCC member to do the thing I'm saying you all do, but you're also denying my point that you do it because Coda isn't in the SCC. And then in response to all of this, you somehow managed to take the first 2 points at the beginning of your video that you responded to and twist it to make it seem like I'm still suggesting Coda is in your fucking community. I know Coda isn't in your community. I never suggested Coda was actually in your community to begin with. This special little community likes to deny that it has a problem of misrepresentation, but they keep adding to that. The list of examples of just flat out misrepresentation and dishonesty just keeps growing. If you haven't noticed, there's a bit of a similarity between what happened with Alex and this. If you don't know, and you would like to know exactly what happened with Alex the Critic, and what the SCC tried to pull on him, I made a full video detailing all of it. However, if I'm going to try and summarize that autistic shit show in this video, I made a point about this community having some dishonesty, using Toganinium or Dwebly as an example, because Dwebly misrepresented an anti-mandate take as an anti-vax take. In response, this community did a handful of things. First, they misrepresented Alex's point and tried to say that he was saying all of them were dishonest, and then said that he couldn't say that they were dishonest because he only had one example, and one example wasn't enough. But they were also defending Dwebly's point, while at the same time saying it was a joke. So it was a joke, but several of them, including Dwebly himself, stands by that joke as an actual point, providing Alex the Critic more examples of their dishonesty and misrepresentation. Now what happened here exactly? George misrepresented my point about Coda in the commentary community, saying that I was lumping Coda in, that my point was wrong because Coda wasn't in the SCC. But then he goes as an SCC member and does the exact same shit that I was accusing his community of doing. And then in response to that, George decides he's gonna grab that shovel and he's gonna start digging his grave even deeper. Now George was a little bit upset with me after my response, and he was upset with me because I didn't say his name, that I didn't name drop him. But this video is a little bit different. Now, if you'd like to check out George Hagg's full 17-minute garbage fire, if you have about 17 to 18 minutes of spare time and you'd like to waste that time on some really fucking autistic shit, I'll have it linked down below. I'm willing to bet you will enjoy just how fucking retarded he is, just like I have. Now you might be wondering, why am I bringing up the Alt-CC versus Neo-CC days? That's the past. After all, that's what everyone does when you criticize fucking Mama Doodle Tones.
It's because I haven't mentally matured in the slightest in the past 5 years, and therefore have a very hard time getting new information.
No, it's because anytime anyone references the past, you all lose your shit, you throw a fit over it, and you constantly throw excuses. What I did in my first and second video on this special little community, this short bus of a community, this bus full of window lickers and Sharpie sniffers, I talked about present events in both of those videos, while referencing the past to prove that this is a bit of a problem that you all do. Anytime criticism goes to your community, or even doodle tones, several of you will rush to do a handful of things, immediately trying to deny the point being right, not even considering it possibly being right, just immediately trying to shut that shit down. It's immediately wrong. You misrepresent that point, and you deny that the point is right on the basis of your own misrepresentation of it. And then because your community is so collectively fucking stupid, you all will trip over your own arguments and each other's arguments when you're trying to shut that shit down, when you're crusading to get the person to shut the fuck up. And it's when that very moment happens that you accidentally prove the person right. And George, you're no different. You're not an exception. Monkey see, monkey do. One of the things you did in your video was to suggest that my point was wrong because Coda wasn't in the community, misrepresenting my point as me saying Coda was in the SCC and therefore the entire community does it. You denied my point being right based on your own misrepresentation of my point. And then because you're so fucking retarded like the rest of your community, you went and did the exact same shit, but as an SCC member, providing me an actual example of someone from the SCC doing the shit Coda was doing. And then, because you're still so fucking retarded, you tried to dodge that point. You misrepresented my point as me saying I knew you were going to do that. What's clear is that this community will do anything and everything to dodge a point, to misrepresent it, to leap yards, miles of mental gymnastics, to reach out for anything and everything they can to divert or misrepresent what's been said. And then you all wonder why your community is made fun of all the time by gameplay commentators.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is scalding, and now you are molding and coping so hard. Coping and seething.
Oh, wait. You're still here? Okay, well, while you're here, let's have a one-to-one, mano-y-mano, something more direct. The It's Gonna Be Biblical video. If you think that that has anything to do with me fucking with the Slideshow commentary community, then oh boy, were you wrong. However, if you are enjoying these videos, then you're going to absolutely love what's coming up next. I've dropped several hints and even just outright said it before, but this is a project that's long been overdue, something that's been working up in the background, been cooking up. And if you don't know what it is, then you're going to be quite surprised. It's going to be a little adventure, a story time, in a way. A retrospective on some very interesting events and a particular group of people. A group of people who tried to run me into the ground with a smear campaign that lasted a fucking year. And while this group almost has no relation to the SEC, two people, two big names within the SEC, did play a role in it. One of them being their king, who they're constantly protecting, and another one being his friend. Now the SEC and this group of people seem to think two things. That I'm simply doing this to get a reaction out of them, and that if they don't give me a reaction, that if they just ignore me, I'm going to stop. And that isn't remotely true. This group of people think that as well. Simply ignoring me means I'm going to go away. They think that simply trying to hide the shit that they tried to pull and the shit that they did, and their lies will work. That simply removing it and acting as though nothing happened, and both the SEC and this little group couldn't be any more further from the truth. I don't give a shit whether you react or not. Ignoring me is not going to help your case. It's not going to stop it. And trying to delete, cover up, and pretend as though you all did absolutely nothing is not going to help your case at all. Especially when you keep trying to play the moral high ground 2 years later. Now that we're done bullying the Slideshow commentator, I just want to leave you guys on some final words, some familiar words, some words that I've said before. Another Slideshow commentator, shooting themselves in the foot. We love to see it.
Just a robot. Quite possibly one of the worst YouTubers I've ever seen in my life. The fact that he constantly talks about dead topics that nobody gives a shit about, like the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base.
But despite all of that, Scott Cawthon keeps pumping out crappy sequel after crappy sequel. And Scott keeps claiming that the most relevant sequel is going to be the last installment in the series. At this point, it's pretty much like Loki dying in Marvel.
Like, wow, you don't like the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base? Why don't you make a video about the ICP fan base while you're at it? Of course, as everyone knows, J.A.R was a member of a community called the Alt-CC, which I helped found. Our mission was to destroy what we called the Neo-CC, a new age of commentators that can't take a fucking joke and spurg out over the smallest things. I could talk about how he wanted all of the edgelords out of the Alt-CC, and that he wanted to make peace with the Neo-CC, completely defeating the purpose of the Alt-CC in the first place. But of course, he just wanted to cater to his audience and not use too many mean and evil ad hominems, so he tucked his tail between his legs and bitched out because that's all he thinks he can do to get more viewers. The issue is, no matter how much J.A.R wants to make videos about the Neo-CC, he's one of them. He makes terrible opening skits that seem like freshmen in high school drama class with dementia.
Hey guys, I'm just a robot, and as you can clearly tell, I am a robot.
And I'm Junkie. I'm not a robot. I'm an animal. And J.A.R here thought it'd be an interesting idea to do a video on robot animals.
Junkie, you're not supposed to introduce yourself like that.
Of course, his god-awful monotone voice doesn't help.
But DarkScythe, you don't understand. He has a monotone voice to be like a robot because he wants to be quirky and relatable to his anthro audience.
No, actually, he talks like this in voice calls too. It's really fucking annoying to the point where I want to staple my fucking ears shut. But of course, he wants to appeal to his autistic audience, like making videos about Christian, like, whoa, such an innovative idea that's never been done before.
Christian Weston Chandler, also known as the CWC. I wanted to do a video about him for a very long time, but what can I say that hasn't already been said? Well, the answer is absolutely nothing.
Then why make a video? What's the point?
So instead of talking about Christian Weston Chandler, I'm going to talk about Christina Weston Chandler.
But that makes no difference. They're still the same person. That's like saying, I'm not going to talk about Clark Kent this time, I'm talking about Superman. Like, fuck off, dude. But what? Christian is bad? He's stupid? He's done stupid things. Oh, please do tell Just a Robot. I haven't heard about this new and breaking news story before. Next you'll be telling me how wrestling is actually fake? Or better yet, how the Earth is actually spherical? Oh, wait. You actually did that. It's, not even a joke. Well, anyway, like, whoa, you're really blowing my mind and my dick with your weapons-grade philosophical insight. Wow, Steve Shives and social justice warriors are bad? Attention, free speech warriors, hear my cry. These dyed-haired, smelly college kids with hairy armpits are the biggest threat to our freedom of speech. Wow, that's really cool. Want to talk about the genocide in Yemen? Or, issues that actually affect us? No, just what Lacey Green's anal prolapse tastes like. I think what really butters my biscuits about Jackoff a Retard is, how he jacks off retards. He makes a video about the most mundane of topics and managed to actually maintain a following. He brings absolutely no new points to the table about anything he talks about. It's just the same shit you've been hearing from Sargon of Akkad or wrecked feminist videos or any other generic channel that pertains to the topic he's talking about. Whether it's his shitty political videos or his shitty Dragon Ball Z videos, there's already 1,000 other channels that said pretty much the same shit he said about the topic.
But DarkScythe, I have a following, and you just don't understand, and you're just jealous.
Trust me, I never want the retards you attract anywhere near my fan base. A bunch of fucking mouth-breathing, sock-chewing, shit-eating fans that will watch anything that's on their fucking screen because, Ooh, pretty lights on the screen. Whoa, the picture is moving. J.A.R's mouth moves just like a cartoon. Sometimes I wish J.A.R's mouth would move around my pee-pee. Let's also not forget, he completely ripped off my Dragon Ball Z vs. Sonic The Similarities video. Literally brings up the exact same points I do and calls it a day. Pretty fucking pathetic if you ask me. In conclusion, J.A.R is an idiot that makes god-awful content that appeals to the lowest common denominator. Like a certain other someone.